What's up, everybody? All right, today on OnlyFinns, this is the tank that started the channel. This is the tank that inspired the logo of OnlyFinns. When I first got into this hobby, green is my favorite color. Went into the fish store and they had green terrors in the tanks. And I just absolutely fell in love with their color, fell in love with what they look like. Like I said, green is my favorite color, and so to have a fish that was just a very green color was kind of the ultimate goal, right? And so this tank is a UNS 90U. It's a 75-gallon tank, and this tank originally started as a small green terror grow-out tank. They're still a little small. There's still a few in there that are still growing, but I've also got some tiger severums in there, and I have a royal pleco. And I have, right now, 11 green terrors in this tank that, aren't too terribly big. And then the severums started out originally pretty small as well, the tiger severums in here. So this tank is what started the channel, because the green terrors are just my absolute favorite fish. They're the ones that just, I always have to have. I think they're amazing. And you always hear people saying with green terrors that you can't keep them, you got to have just one or they'll kill everybody in the tank. I have never had that problem. Now, to be fair, I started with little ones. I did not get a big dominant male. I did not get a big dominant female. I literally started with babies and grew them up into some of the sizes you see now. Do I think that if you put a big dominant male who's used to being the only one in the tank? Sure, yeah, I bet he would kill everybody. But I almost think these guys are more like the African cichlids out of Lake Malawi, that the more you have of them, the more distracted they are, and they don't really ever establish a pure hierarchy dominance. I do have two males in here. The one that is off the logo, that's actually identical off the logo, we'll show some shots of him. And then I have another one that has the no-keel hump, right? So I have two males in there, and I have never had any fighting in this tank. I have had a few green terrors die. A few get sick, a few just didn't make it, but not due to infighting. And I also think the severums, once again, just like Lake Malawi, I think because there's so much going on, they just get distracted and they don't really have that aggression, right? Or maybe I just really, really got lucky with the few fish that I have, but I've never had the aggression level that you hear with green terrors. People all the time are, oh, you can only keep one in the tank. Never had that problem. So this tank right here is also the best tank that we have, in the sense that this is the UNS tank. Just beautiful glass, beautiful tank construction, just absolutely gorgeous. Most recently, I ordered a Kraken Reef lid for it because I have had 2 or 3 fish in this tank jump out. Not very fun to come out and find them on the ground because it is a rimless tank. So I have one that I ordered off a bulk reef supply that's kind of like a metal lid that you customize, not really the best fitting lid. So I got one from Kraken Reef, which we'll do a video for that. That'll be here later this week. But you can see right now, tank's a little hazy, a little cloudy. I did just do the water change, but I fed them and I dropped frozen foods in there for them so that they would be nice and active. And what I do is I do frozen foods on the weekends. So I usually give them 2 days-ish of not eating, and then day 3, I give them a bigger meal so that way they can just go crazy on the frozen foods, kind of like a weekend snack, right? And the severums and the green terrors are such heavy eaters that this will really only sit this way for maybe an hour. And then, in an hour from now, it's going to be almost crystal clear because they will just continuously eat all this food. And they're just such high-energy fish. The tiger severums that are in here are absolutely awesome. We started out with them really small. One of them, my wife is affectionately named Jafar. He's the one with the black stripes over here that is kind of the, not angriest, but he will come up to the front of the tank to greet you every single time. He's right there. He's super cool. And then I actually got another one when I lost one of my original tiger severums. I had 3 originally, now I have 4. And it's this guy over here in the corner, and he just has an absolutely beautiful pattern to him. He's got the turquoise face. I mean, just absolutely cool. Everybody loves discus, and I'm not opposed to discus. I think they're very pretty fish, but I love severums. And this is what really started the love for South America. So this is the South America tank, if you will. And I just genuinely love South America. Like there's all sorts of cool regions in the world that you can have, but I just think South America is so cool. Between tiger severums, gold spotted severums, which you'll see, red spotted severums you'll see behind me on the 150, and just all the different cichlids and just everything you can have from South America is why this is one of my favorite absolute tanks. The only thing I wish with this tank was that it was bigger, obviously, but I wish it was in our living room so that way I could sit and enjoy it just continuously. The hard part is right now is where this is located. It's in our hallway, so I only really get to see it as like I kind of walk by it. But it's not a bad place for it because it's dark in the hallway, so it really keeps the algae growth down in this tank. The other thing that's interesting too is I originally had some Amazon swords in here just to obviously try to help keep the tank stabilized, and that only lasted for a few months because severums and green terrors, but mostly the severums, will eat absolutely everything. They go for the roots, they go for the plant, they go for whatever they can get their mouths on constantly. And the phrase the other day that was used for me was lawnmower, and that's pretty much the truth. They will eat absolutely anything. And so trying to keep live plants with severums I've found is just a pain in the butt. So I took them out and they're no longer in there. So the plan for this tank is 225 to 300 gallons display tank, and we'll put that somewhere where we can look at it. And then this UNS tank, I'm going to put it on its own stand, and it will become like a grow out tank, a hospital tank, something, because it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I would love another UNS, bigger tank. I would love one of their bigger tanks. The problem I have is, once again, that they're rimless. And so I've already had 2 or 3 fish that have jumped and, at night we didn't catch it, come out in the morning and they're on the ground. And that's really, really hard. And so I just, I can't really get over that. So I prefer tanks with lids, but absolutely gorgeous quality tank. And we'll do some other videos where we review equipment and how I have things set up and whatever, but these videos right now are just the introduction into what tanks we have and what species we have. We'll try to get some really nice shots of the fish too for everybody to look at. We'll keep going. We've got 2 more tanks.